It's not going to change. It is really not going to change. It's going to stay consistent all the way down. So one more time, please, verse 6.
Let me start over.
Yes, please.
For Yahuah have called thee as a woman forsaken
Uh-huh.
in spirit, and a wife of youth,
Uh-huh.
and thou
Was refused.
refused Saul thy Elohim.
Okay, hallelujah. So, looking at verses 4, 5, and 6, who is the husband? All right. So, and who is the wife?
Israel.
Exactly. So, it's always like that. Exactly. This is a relationship. Aki, if you can read that, let's start at verse 7, and if you can finish up to verse 17, please.
Yahuah 54:7.
Uh-huh.
For a little while I have forsaken you,
Uh-huh.
but with great compassion I shall gather you.
Hallelujah.
Verse 8. In an overflow of wrath I hid my face from you for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
but with everlasting loving commitment I shall have compassion on you, saith Yahuah your Redeemer.
So, who's the Redeemer?
Yahuah.
Okay, so we're talking about that today. Hallelujah. Read on.
Verse 9. For this is the waters of Noah to me, in that I have sworn that the waters of Noah will never again cover the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So have I sworn not to be wroth with you, nor to rebuke you.
Right. So who is this that the Father is promising that he would not be wroth or rebuke actually forever? Who is this?
Yashra'al.
It's not changing. Read on.
Verse 10. For though the mountains be removed and the hills be shaken, my love and commitment is not removed from you, nor is my covenant of peace shaken, saith God, who has compassion on you.
Hallelujah.
Verse 11. O you afflicted one, tossed with storm and not comforted, see, I am setting your stones in antimony, setting your stones in antimony, and shall lay your foundations with sapphires. Verse 12. And shall make your battlements of rubies, your gates of crystal, and all your walls of precious stones.
Hallelujah. So the Father is going to actually restore the nation of Yashra'al, the bride. Read on.
Verse 13. And all your children taught by Yah, and the peace of your children great. Verse 14. In righteousness you shall be established, far from oppression, for you shall not fear, and far from ruin, for it does not come near you. Verse 15. See, they shall indeed assemble, but not because of me. Whoever shall assemble against you falls for your sake.
Wow.
Verse 16. See, I myself have created the blacksmith who blows the coals in the fire, who brings forth the instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon formed against you shall prosper,
Wow.
and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall prove wrong. This is the inheritance of the servants of Yah, and their righteousness from me declares Yah.
Hallelujah. Everybody sees what's going on here? We're talking about the Father's going to send someone to atone for a particular people and restore these people back to their rightful place again.
Okay.
It's like that from Genesis all the way to Revelation. It is not going to change. Now, the importance of these three feasts is that they explain the return of Yahusha Mashiyach. We talked a lot about redemption. The word redemption is going to be very important. We're going to take our time with this Nishbikar. The word redemption in Hebrew is Ga'al. Ga'al. Ga'al is a Hebrew idiom for a very important word. Kinsman. Kinsman. That is so important. Kinsman. The kinsman is associated with the Jubilee year. And we're going to go to the book of Leviticus, the 25th chapter, verse 42. If I could get my brother James to read, please. 25:42, book of Leviticus. Yep, Leviticus 25:42.
Okay.
Yes.
For they are my servants. which I brought forth.
Who's, okay. They are whose servants? My servants. So, who are these people? I mean, can we tell?
Yashra'al,
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's clear. All right, so read on.
which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt.
Uh-huh.
They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy Elohim.
Right. So, that word bondman is extremely, extremely important. It is the Strong's number 5650. We have a lot to cover, but I pray that everybody is really digesting exactly what's going on here. Integration this is not what just, when we say integration, I just want to make sure that we all understand exactly what that means. It's because the Father is only dealing with the nation of Yashra'al, and He is not going to give this inheritance now to anybody else but the nation of Israel. The word for bondmen, our good brother about Yahusha have that. He should know that one here. The Hebrew word for bondman is what? I'll give you another hand here. The ayin, the bet, and the dalet. You better not know. You should not spell your own name exactly. So that means servant. And the nation of Yashra'al are whose servants? We are servant to who?
Yahuah.
Who are we servant to now?
Like in captivity.
Yeah, so we're in captivity now, right? So we're in captivity. Bear with me. Watch, because something important is about to happen. I just want to make sure everybody is seeing this. Now watch Leviticus, the 25th chapter again. 25:42. For they, which is the nation of Yashra'al, for they are my servants, which I brought out of the land of Egypt. They should not be sold as bondmen. Was the nation of Yashra'al sold as bondmen and bondwomen?
Yes.
Okay, now, Leviticus, the 25th chapter, is talking about a particular year. Anybody know what year that is?
Year Jubilee.
The Jubilee. Hallelujah. So now, we talked about this word right here, kinsman. All right? Redemption. The Hebrew word, ga'ah. My argument is, once the nation of Yashra'al, Jacob, if he's in captivity, Israel can only be delivered during a Jubilee year, and the person now that can actually now redeem them, he would have to be a kinsman. He can only be a kinsman because Israel are supposed to be now servants now to the Father of Yahuah. But right now, these people are gone into captivity. And again, the Jubilee is going to be very, very important. Now, go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, verse 68. 28:68. Correct. If you can read that for me, please. 28:68. Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 28:68.
Yes.
And Yash.
Actually, correct.
Oh, okay.
Deuteronomy 28:68. And Yahuah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I speak unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondsmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Okay, now, let's put this together. Israel is going into captivity. They're serving this servitude here, so they are now servants to somebody else. But in Leviticus, the 25th chapter, verse 42, we're supposed to now be servants to the Father. But because of disobedience now, we're being servants to someone else. It says that no man shall buy you. Anybody know the reason why it's saying here that no man shall buy us?
Everybody was in slavery.
Huh?
Everybody was in slavery.
Right, everybody was in slavery, but we had Abraham Lincoln, we had the George Washingtons, and all these other characters. They said that, we are now free and we've been redeemed. Exactly. So now what's happening is that why hasn't now the Jesse Jacksons, why haven't the Obamas, our so-called black mayors, why wasn't they able to redeem us?
Because the scripture is saying no man, when the scripture says buy, it means no man's going to free you from the things that's going on.
Exactly. Another word for buy is the word purchase. Right, exactly. So, again, how was Israel first purchased?
The blood, walking the Christ.
Through the blood of Yahushua Mashiyach, or through a lamb. It was a prophetic shadow picture of the Messianic. So when we went into now, the 3 times that all males must report to Jerusalem, those festivals are very, very important because they're commemorating those very special events. What we have now, barley. We have Pesach. We have the blood being put on the doorpost. The next festival being Shabbat. That was the marriage. And then we have the Feast of Sukkot. But what's interesting about the Feast of Sukkot is that after the situation that technically happened in the Garden of Eden, the Father has never tabernacled with the bride and groom since then. So we're working now, and this is the reason why the rehearsals are so important, so that we can remember now what happened to us, where we're going, and what is the meaning now behind these feast days. The word salvation. The word salvation is very important. It's associated with the word Savior, and we have the Hebrew word Yashra'al. Go to the book of Hebrews, the 9th chapter, verse 28, Yahuah. If you can read that for me, please. Hebrews 9:28. These festivals are very, very important because we share with everybody today the Jubilee. That is very important. And okay, I'm going to read the scripture first and then we go into it. Salvation, Yeshua, Hebrews 9:28, and we have Yahuah. He's going to bring us some good word for that. Let me just get it with you. Right, the book of Hebrews, the 9th chapter, verse 28. Okay.
Hebrews 9:28. So Mashiyach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto Yeshua.
Hallelujah. So the Mashiyach was once offered to bear the sins of many. And reading now the book of Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, when it says many, do you believe that the story has now changed, where now the many is referring now to everybody on the planet Earth? Because my argument now is that there was a protocol, there was a procedure that the Mashiyach had to follow in order for him to be the Mashiyach. The many that he's referring to is still the nation of Yashra'al. It hasn't changed. Okay, now, so he was to bear the sins of many, and to them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin and until salvation. Did the Mashiyach had sin the first time when he did his ministry?
No, he didn't sin.
Right. But he became a sin for the nation of Yashra'al, bearing the transgressions of the adulterous woman, because the adulterous woman, her sentence was to die. So I just want us to really appreciate the festivals, because without the festivals, none of us would be here today. And that's that ultimate love that the Father has always had for the nation of Yashra'al, making sure that he upheld his part of the ketubah, which means written. It was a written contract that the Father had with Abraham, sharing with Abraham that he was going to make him the father of many nations, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. What does it mean when I'm going to make you the father of many nations in Genesis 12 and 3? We have to break that down too. The word nations, all right? So we have a lot to talk about. The book of Philippians 3 and 20, if you could read that for me, please. Philippians 3 and 20. So we're talking about redemption, 3 important feasts, and these 3 words here. We're talking about redemption, salvation, and we're going to talk about shalom. These 3 words are all associated. I'm going to write them down here. Redemption, yes, salvation, and we have shalom. Who has it? Philippians 3 and 20. So we can keep it rocking and rolling.
Philippians
Yes,
3 and
James?
20.
Okay.
For our conversation is in heaven, whence also we look for the Savior, Yahusha Mashiyach.
Hallelujah. 2 Timothy 4, verse 8. Get Brother James to read that for me, please. The book of Timothy, 2 Timothy 4 and 8.
Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Yahuah, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing.
So we see how important that is. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the sovereign, the righteous shall judge, shall give me at that day. That's going to be very, very important, that day. Anybody know when that day is? The great day of judgment. You said 2 things. All right. You said the great day. All right. The judgment. So when is the judgment?
After the 1,000-year reign, the millennial reign shall be a total judgment of all souls that live, which is a great day.
Okay, so during the millennium reign of the Mashiyach, if the Mashiyach is reigning now, that means that the adversary, Israel must be at peace at this time.
Right.
So now, the importance of Yom Teruah, these last 3 feasts here, we have Yom Teruah, we have the Day of Atonement, and then we have the Feast of Sukkot. Knowing now that Israel is going to be redeemed now during the Jubilee year. Just as Israel was redeemed during the Jubilee year during the Exodus from Egypt. So, the great day. Remember now where we have Moses. Now, we talk about this a lot. Moses goes up to the top of the mount in the month of Elul, which is the 6th month. Right? The 6th month. He's up there to the top of the mount for 40 days and for 40 nights. Do you know why Moses he's at the top of the mount, speaking with the Father for 40 days and 40 nights in the month of Elul in the 6th month. 40 days and 40 nights. Why is he doing that? Because Moses now is pleading the cause for the nation of Yashra'al. The nation of Yashra'al just committed the great sin. It took less than 40 days. Less than 40 days now, all of the miracles that the Father showed the nation of Yashra'al, Israel turned around, and we turned around and built the golden calf. Moses now goes back up to the top of the mount for the 2nd time in the month of the Lord. He comes down 40 days later.
Is that because kind of prophetic, not prophetic topic, but a representation of what happened with Noah? After we committed sin, we actually died. It took 40 days and 40 nights for the rain, so we died. And Moses pleaded 40 days and 40 nights, so he don't kill us.
Well, Israel wasn't a nation at that time, but I can see some of the prophetic shadow pictures behind some of that, because we're going to get into some of that too during the Feast of Sukkot. What I'm trying to share here now is that this is happening in the month of Elul. He comes down 40 days later. 40 days later is going to put us now in the month of Tishri. You know what month Tishri is, right? 10 minutes? Huh? The 7th month. All right? The 7th month. Everything happens around, or everything speeds up around the 7th month. What is the first festival that we should be acknowledging during the 7th month?
First day of the month, the first day of the 7th month, first feast of Torah.
Okay, it's Yom Teruah. Yom Teruah is what? We talked about it many times. What is the significance behind Yom Teruah?
It's a signal. It's called the blowing of the shofar. It's a signal.
Right, it's blowing of the shofar. Blowing of the shofar for what? I mean, I just want to make sure everybody is understanding why you're blowing the shofar.
My understanding is to commemorate the completion of something. Once the signal was blown, then we had the day of atonement.
Right, we have a signal. It's an oath. Right. So what we're doing now is that Yom Teruah, now the blowing of the shofar, we speed it up here a little bit. This is the coronation or the coming of the king. Right. The coming of the king. Now, when the king is coming, all hell is about to break loose. It's all going to break loose. And we're going to show in scripture now is that Yom Teruah now is associated now with Jacob's trouble. When Moses now, in the month of Elul, and he's up to the mountain now for 40 days or for 40 nights now, we're on edge because we're waiting now for the verdict. We just committed to sin with the golden calf. We don't know whether or not the Father's going to forgive us. Remember the story now. Moses said, now, if you won't forgive them, I will want to be that atoning sacrifice. Blot my name out of the book. Blot my name out of the book. 30 days in a month. We're talking about a solar calendar. If Moses now is on the top of the mountain for 40 days and for 40 nights, he comes back down 40 days. That's going to give us now, Moses returns now in the 7th month, the month of Tishri, on the 10th day. The 10th day is what part of the festival in the 7th month?
Day of Atonement.
The Day of Atonement. So we have Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur. So, for these 40 days and 40 nights, like we have talked about so many times before, a lot of people are fasting. If you don't want to eat your favorite food and things like that, fine, so be it, but that's not what that's talking about. The word afflict, okay, is the Hebrew word anah. A-N-A-H. That's the word there. You're supposed to afflict your souls. It says nothing about you not eating your favorite food. Not there. If you want to fast and not eat your favorite food, that Hebrew word is S-T-S-U-N. The word soul. What we're supposed to be doing now, at this point here, waiting for Moses to come down, we're pleading and begging and asking every one of us now to forgive our sins. You're asking for forgiveness. Because Moses now is acting as now a defense attorney, like I like to say, a defense attorney working on your behalf, asking the Father now to please forgive the people. The Father was about to annihilate, destroy the nation of Yashra'al in the wilderness a lot of times. If it wasn't for that promise that he made with Abraham, we'll all be done. There's so many times, one particular case where the Father tells Moses, listen, you know what? Just get out of the way. All right? I'm about to put some hands on these people out here because they just don't seem to get it. I'll destroy every single Israelite out here in the wilderness, and I will raise you up, Moses. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. What I wanted to share now is that with the Mashiyach, or when that angel, because we had talked about it last week, when that shofar is blown, all hell is going to break loose. We have Jacob's trouble beginning, it's going to begin. But what's happening now is that we've gone through a lot of 7th month dates or times. Every 7th month, according to Scripture, things begin to heat up a little bit more. Do we know as Israelites what season the Father is going to send the Son to make his return?
Feast of Tabernacles.
He's going to send him during the Feast of Tabernacles, exactly. So the seventh month is going to be very important. Before the groom can tabernacle with the bride, she has to wait for the verdict. And then on the Day of Atonement, the 10th day, she now has 5 days now to get herself prepared now to tabernacle with the groom. We all good? Okay, all right. So, Numbers, the 18th chapter, verse 23. The book of Numbers, the 18th chapter, verse 23. Okay, let me read this. Watch this now. But the Levites should do the service of the tabernacle, of the congregation. They shall bear their iniquity. All right? It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that among the children of Israel, they have no inheritance. What I wanted to look at here, who was assigned to do temple services for the nation of Yashra'al? No, well, we have a situation that happened where there was a sin that was committed, so the Father set up Levitical priesthood. So, after the sin of the golden calf, who was acting as a mediator for the nation of Yashra'al? Who?
High priest Aaron, Aaron.
Right, it would be the high priest, so we have now, like the scripture says, we have the Levites. They were the ones who are supposed to be the ministers, and the ministers actually done the services in the temple. So when a person came up to minister or to lead the flock, the 24 courses of Abijah, each priest serving twice a year, that's very important. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood. Priestly services were done by men, not the women. You're not going to find anywhere in Scripture where they ministered temple services. That is very, very important for us to understand. Anybody know why?
It was an issue of blood and uncleanness. Father did not allow any blood in his temple, number one, and anything that was unclean, so he gave it to the service.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Father gave man a responsibility. He's a husbandman. He's a caretaker. It is his responsibility now to take care of his family, his household. He actually now leads the flock. When it said bear the iniquity, if anything was to happen, if anything was to go wrong, it was now falling on the Levites. So it's the same thing with inside of your household. If something ever was to go wrong in your house, the first person that the Father's going to want to have a conversation with is the man in the house, which is you. Because it is your responsibility now to be that forefront. You're the one now that is bearing the iniquity, or you're the shepherd. You're going before your family now, before the enemy. You see where we're going here now? It can't be the role reversal the way that